Welcome to our podcast today. I'm Charles Kearse, and I'm your host in place of Mr. Patriot. But I'm here with an exciting guest today, and we're going to talk a little bit about business and creating jobs in the marketplace. But one of the things we like to do with the urban impact movement, we like to have fun, we like to make money, and we like to make a difference. And one of those ways that we do that is by utilizing sports. For me, sports were a very important tool. In fact, I like to tell people my ticket out of the urban environment, which we would call the ghetto, was football. And then I found this wonderful game of golf, and golf has become my passport to the world. So I'm very excited to have our guest today, Mr. Garrett Garland. Garrett and I met actually on a golf range hitting golf balls. And here's how we met. I saw this very distinguished young man, and he's going to eventually tell you how old he is because I didn't believe him when he told me. But he walked up and he had this staff bag. And if you're a golfer, you know what a staff bag is. It's a pro type bag, and it had a wonderful emblem on it. And I recognized that he was a U.S. veteran. I as well am a U.S. Army vet, and he's an Army veteran, much more decorated than I am, and much more acclaimed than I was. And so he's going to tell that story. But what attracted me was the flight of his golf ball. Now, I'm a golfer. I'm not an avid golfer. I'm just a student of the game and love the game, and I wish I can hit the ball like this guy. And the way he was hitting the ball, I'm like, and compressing the ball and the flight of the ball, and it was going straight. I was like, wow, I need to talk to this guy. So we started talking, and he, like we don't know strangers, right? So we hooked up immediately and started talking and started strategizing about how we can bring solutions to the things that are going on to the world. So I want to introduce to you my friend, and my buddy, my golf buddy, and actually I can't even hold a light to him on a golf course. He beats me hands down. But my friend Garrett Garland, Garrett, welcome to our show today.
Thank you, Charles. It's wonderful to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I want you to just tell the people, we're just going to sit back and just think you're having coffee with Charles, right? This is Coffee with Charles. We're going to kick it a little bit, talk about some of our life stories, and tell the people who you are.
Well, I'm a 74-year-old. I don't know if you guys recognize this, but this is a white face. This is a white man right here. Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Was blessed with certain talents, which I was able to take advantage of. I got to go to school on a scholarship. Came out of those scholarships at Arizona State, and went in the military. Served as a Green Beret officer in Vietnam. Came out and did some various business ventures, played a little golf along the way. I'm one of those people that's a little bit star-crossed. I'm kind of like, my wife says, I'm kind of like what's his name? Never mind. Anyway, I come across all these famous people all the time that somehow find their way into my life. And I'm able to get friendships and acquaintances, and it's moved me through life pretty well. Now, go ahead, Charles.
Tell us go back to ASU, right? Mm-hmm. So you're at ASU, you're playing baseball, right? Correct. What was that like? Tell us that experience.
Well, at Arizona State, 1965 was my first year there, and I got a scholarship to play at ASU under Coach Bobby Winkles. And this team was extraordinarily good. I didn't know how good. I thought I was a pretty good ball player in high school. I batted over 400, had great hands, was fast. But I got to Arizona State, and these guys were pretty amazing. They became the Oakland A's. Many of you don't know this, but we had Reggie Jackson on our team, a guy named Rick Monday, Ando, Vida Blue. About 6 guys off our college team became all-stars in the league, and that's very rare. So I had spent almost the entire year on the bench getting splinters, and I didn't get into many games because they were just heads and tails, heads above my ability. So at the end of the year, Coach Winkle said, most teams you'd be able to make it. You'd be playing all the time, but this team's extraordinary. We'd like to get another person in here with a scholarship. I hear you play golf. Let me introduce you to Coach Mann, and maybe we can get you on the golf team. And so I switched in '66 to the golf team under Coach Mann. Now in '65, we won the NCAA championship. I still have a ring from that championship. We won with the Rick Monday home run. The following year, we did not win anything. We finished, I think, maybe first or second in our conference, but it was very interesting to play sports. And I think one of the things that having team sports as opposed to individual sports.
Well, now hold on, wait a minute, because you just kind of brushed over the fact that you played on a team with Reggie Jackson and Vida Blue. Come on, man.
and Rick Monday.
And Rick Monday, right? I mean, and for our listeners that don't know, those are Hall of Famers that went on to be Hall of Famers,
right?
And here. So for all of the aspiring professional athletes out there, right, that will probably a small fraction of them will ever make the pros, and they may make the team, and that's a wonderful accomplishment. So we're talking to a guy that made the team and then wind up having to go play golf because he wasn't going to outlast those guys that went on to be Hall of Famers.
Very true.
Right? And yet you picked up this game called golf, right?
Correct.
And we're looking at the flags behind us. Tell our audience about the flags that are behind you for a minute.
Well, this one here was given to me by my employees when I was the head of LoJack. This is a Masters flag signed by both Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson in the middle. I've got signatures from, I think, both Arnie and Jack. Hal Sutton. Anyway, it was a very nice flag they presented to me. There's another flag. Let me get it over here. This one is a Senior Open flag that I played in back in 1998. I don't know if you can see this or not, guys, but I've got Arnold Palmer's signature. I've got Jack Nicklaus. I've got Dale Douglas, all these people I played with. This is my signature up here. And then over here is the 100th U.S. Open, which I was an alternate at and did not get in. So those are the three flags that hang behind my back.
I love it. I love that. First of all, the experiences are out of this world, right? Who has flags with signatures of Tiger and Phil on it and Jack and Arnie on it, right? And you're in those audience. But here you are as a senior golfer. Now, mind you, I met you a couple of months back and you're still out there shooting you're shooting in the 60s and you're still winning senior opens, your senior tournaments.
Correct.
Tell us what you're doing with that wonderful tool, because I don't want to brush over it, because you have developed your golf game and I'm sure it has served you well in both your military career as well as your business career, which we're going to get into. And then we want to also talk about what you're doing in your charity life with Purple Heart Homes. But how has golf sustained your upward mobility and caused you to be able to cash in on social capital?
You know, I think golf, more than any other activity I've done, has enabled me to get to know people that I might not have known. I'm able to spend time with them socially while we're playing, having a God-given ability to be able to play the sport in addition to the time I put in to hone it. But still, I've been given a talent that I've been able to use, and that's enabled me to meet and play with some of the finest people in the world. I former President Ford, I played with probably 20 times. I get invited to every event he had. I played with senators. I played with famous athletes, stars. It's really been a blessing. Now, when I was in the service, I don't want to go into a lot of that, but I was injured a few times pretty badly. I've been shot. I've been blown up. I've had some burns, etc. So I've had 38 major surgeries coming back from these things. I have had, I think by count, 10 back surgeries, 2 fusions. I've got artificial shoulders, artificial knees, part of a right foot, 5 or 6 hernias. My eyes have been rebuilt. So I consider myself a great rehabber, not necessarily a great physical specialist. I'm able to get back out there and redo this, even though by all stretch of the imagination, I probably shouldn't still be playing as well as I do, because I'm definitely not the same person I was 40, 50 years ago.
Wow. So, and we met on the driving range, and I can tell you, and we've had several events for our Golf for a Change over at Top Golf. And you just kind of, the last time we were there with Ron Jacobson, you were just having fun with us, right? Toying with us.
Well, we do have a lot. We have a lot of fun.
we, yeah. And so, before we get into like Golf for a Change and stuff, tell us what you do professionally. Tell us about your business and how you're creating jobs and helping to impact and change people's lives.
Well, currently I have a business called TPS Investments, and the company we own is called The Blind Man Commercial. We do window treatments, roller shades and blinds for windows in large commercial buildings, schools, military bases, etc. And we've been doing this now 15 years. I bought an existing company, but through this opportunity, I've been able to hire some people to do, especially a lot of my construction that I need. They're the face of our charity. Without them, the face of our business. I don't have a business without good people in the field. Mm-hmm. And currently I have a couple of great guys. One, Chris Roberson, who I had lunch with yesterday. He's a young black man who served 7 years in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. And I was drawn to this young man because he always had a smile on his face. His attitude is amazing. He can be working 18-hour days and come in the next morning and have a big smile on his face. I don't know if I could do that, but he's one of these guys that, I'm a guy that loves to hire for attitude as opposed to perfect skills. I can teach skills, but I can't teach attitude. And this kid has worked really well for me. I won't go into when I found him, he was working a dead-end job that was paying him about $21,000 a year, which isn't a lot here. This year, he'll make 4 to 5 times that. We had him start his own business, his own company, to where he doesn't have to work only for me. But right now, he works about 98% for me. But he's able now to quadruple his income from where he was just 2 years ago. So I'm excited about that. It's great to give people an opportunity to fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to introduce you to our community is because one of the verticals is construction that we want to be able to help people, and particularly veterans. We want to be able to help veterans that are returning citizens. They've served the country well, and to be able to help to create a business model where they can buy into, use their veterans benefits. To get the education to become entrepreneurs and then actually create a pathway for success for them and their families and their communities. Right. Because oftentimes when you have individuals that have served and they have a mindset already and a focus that goes beyond just the individual, and they think about the community. And I believe that one of the keys to turning our communities around and helping to create an environment for all people to be successful, liberty and justice for all, is that we come together and we create, like we're having now, these positive, productive relationships. We're having fun, we're making money, and we're making a difference. Now, I know that you're making a difference with the Purple Heart Homes, and I want you to talk about that because that's near and dear to your heart. It's an organization that you used to run. And so tell us about the Purple Heart Homes. Well,
now it's almost 14 years ago. I happened to read an article in the local newspaper here, and it was a story of a young man returning from Iraq who had been blown up in a Humvee and had lost both his legs. And his name was Dale Beatty, and Dale was coming back home after spending a year in the hospital, recuperating and rehabbing. And his father had donated some land for a home. And the community was getting together to help build this home and donate a lot of supplies. And they thought they'd have enough of these donors and contributors to put only a half mortgage on his property. So something called to me to say, hey, listen, I got to go try to help this kid. I've never met him. I don't know him. I'd only been in Charlotte for about a year. But anyway, to make a long story short, I called Dale Beatty. I got a hold of him, and he had me come up to his home. And it was about 3/4 complete at the time. And I'm a Vietnam vet, and it was a different situation when we came home. Nobody really wanted to talk to us. We were a little bit vilified. But this young man who had been so terribly injured and had been through so much pain had the wherewithal to come to me, come out there, give me a big hug, welcome me home that I'd never been done before, talk about, my service and how it meant a lot to him to be able to serve afterward. And I had tears run down my face, and I don't cry much. I cry when I peel onions, but that's about it. So this kid it was an amazing thing for me to be able to get involved with this specific build. About a year later, Dale called me along with his battle buddy, John Galena, who was also injured in the same Humvee. They said, we're going to start a charity called Purple Heart Homes, and we're going to help veterans with their housing needs. And I said, that's great. Are we going to actually do something, or are we going to talk about it? Because no, we're doing things. So the very first year, we raised $17,000 and did one wheelchair ramp. Now, I want to let you guys know that, hey, good ideas or great ideas are absolutely meaningless unless we have the courage to act and begin to do something. Because everything starts off as a very small kernel or nugget. Now, we didn't know what we'd do with this charity other than we knew this one Vietnam vet needed a wheelchair ramp. So we went and did that ramp and raised $17,000 that year. The following few years, we did the same thing again. We did 2 or 3 builds, and we did 4 builds. And we were kind of stuck on that number for a while. But it was okay because we were making an impact in our community. We were making an impact on these men's lives and women's lives. It was changing how they got around in the world again. They saw that people were thankful for what they did. We were able to make their homes safer, more accessible. Another year later, when I became chairman, we challenged our board of directors to do 50 homes in 3 years. Now, remember, we only had done 5 or 6 in this whole period of time.
Right.
So people had thrown up their hands like, my gosh, how are we going to do it? But we sat down and we planned this and we hammered it out, and we started working hard to raise money. We had vets, we had people lined up, and we started working hard to do it. To make a long story short, we did that. And to make even a longer story short, this year we'll do probably 150 homes in 20 United States. We're about to finish our 700th home right now.
Wow.
So anyway, you don't know where it's going to take you. And we still believe we have a long way to go. We have 1 million vets to serve, and we're still scratching the surface, but we're finding good-hearted people around that want to help us. And again, we don't care about what age they are. They can be 19 or 99. We've never cared about race, creed, color, ethnicity. It's all about service. If you served and you've been injured, we want to help you, period.
Right. Wonderful. So you not only are you helping to create jobs with your business, but now you're serving disabled vets and helping to retrofit their homes as they age out. And then also, as we want to get into how we're connecting with Golf for a Change and creating an environment where we can have build relationships and just get to know each other. It is obvious to our viewers that I'm a black guy and you're a white guy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
and we get along. Right?
That's right.
We have fun around, just having conversation about hitting a little golf ball around.
And more meaningful things at this.
Yeah. Well, and before we get into Golf for a Change, talk about your wife and what she does, because it's relevant to our community and what she does with those ladies in the Bible studies.
Well, I'm very blessed to have a terrific wife, and I've got 2 wonderful sons. We're all close. We've never had any. I've been very fortunate. I've been a terrific family. Anyway, my wife, Deborah, who I've been with 28 years, she is very active in our community, always has been. She teaches Bible study. Has been doing this for nearly 10 years now through Bible fellowship, study fellowship. And she's so engaged. She was doing it to class this morning. She went to work this afternoon at our company. But she's so engaged with her ladies and with the church. She's just a terrific woman. You've met her, and she's
Yeah.
outgoing and kind and nice to everyone. I've got two sons. My youngest son is working, doing some things electronically online, and my oldest son at 23 is a pastor at a local church, a youth pastor who's a very gifted speaker.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited. He's going to be speaking at the big church, probably in front of thousands of people, even though they're probably not going to be there in person on this December 27th. So we're excited about that.
Wow. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I've met your family. They're a great family, wonderful family, and love the fact that you guys are integrating your faith, your belief, your values. And one of the things, well, the platform of Nehemiah, we have, of course, the Nehemiah e-community, but we also have the Kingdom Business Coaches, where we help to incorporate and align people in relationship,
right,
and their values to drive home those results that you talked about, and not just talk about it. Now, we've been talking about Golf for a Change for a minute, and it's only actually been a few months, and we're making progress, but we've been hit with COVID-19, and so we're unsure of all the things that we're able to do. But we are recruiting people onto the platform and saying, hey, come, let's have this conversation. And, oh, by the way, we can have these, we call them VIP events at Top Golf. And so as we talk about that, before we get to that, though, I want you to talk about your big brother, your little brother, Jesse, right? And how you've taken him under your wing. And this guy, I'm a big guy, but he's probably twice as big as I am, and particularly because he's got all his muscles in the right place. All right. Talk about Jesse for a minute.
Well, anyway, Jesse Gladney is a Service Connect disabled veteran. He was blown up in Iraq. Jesse is 6'2", 300, all muscle. He is a black man. And we have completely different backgrounds. I'm 25 years older than he is, but we met at a function. And if your heart and mind is open, you'll never know where relationships will take you. So Jesse began talking to me, and I knew he was going through some difficult times. And something called also for me to keep in touch with him. And I'd call him every 2 days and ask him how I was. I invite him out to lunch. I make sure that, he didn't slide away somewhere. We found he was living in his truck about a year later, and we're able to get him on in our program. He was able to get, now he has a home, his own home now, with a half mortgage on it he's living in. So he's off of that truck, off the street. But anyway, this was a real blessing in my life, because this is a man who has a huge heart. He's very intelligent, very sensitive, but he didn't have a lot of trust for people because they had let him down so many times. So Jesse and I are like brothers, for any better word. We're going to be brothers for as long as we live. I just talked to him yesterday. I'll go to lunch usually every Thursday with him. We do come out and do other events together. But it's such a blessing, because Charles understands my philosophy. We are all so much more alike than we are different.
Mm-hmm.
Our differences are small. If you focus on simply skin color, it's not a good way to live. We need to help get out of our own skin a little bit. We tend, as humans, to congregate with those people who are exactly like us. It's completely natural. There's nothing wrong with it. Younger people hang out with younger people. Older people hang out with older people. Blacks hang out with blacks. I hang out with a bunch of old retired generals. So we do that naturally. But my philosophy is we need to get out of that comfort zone a little bit and go out and begin to understand other people, because we're going to find out, hey, we are so much more alike. It gets rid of some of that distrust some people initially have when they meet each other. I've never had it. I don't think Charles has ever had it. But we know people who have. And what we're doing now is we're trying to foster these relationships that if we can get you guys to get people together, they're going to find that, wow, I've been missing out on a lot by not sharing my life with people that aren't like me.
Sure. And the interesting thing, and you mentioned, if we have open hearts and open minds, as a preacher of the gospel, there's no secret that I'm a preacher, pastored, planted 4 churches, pastored for probably 25, 26 years. And now I call myself a pastorpreneur. And the aim there is to make sure that we create relationships that are positive and productive, because through the free enterprise system, in capitalism, we're able to control our destiny, and we're able to be free and not have to depend on the government, not have to depend on someone to give us a hand out, but rather we look for giving people a hand up through not necessarily charity. In fact, our model here at Nehemiah is we'll take a charitable donation because we're a 501c3 organization, and we would love to take your money, but we want to be able to now parlay that charitable donation into a engine that creates earned revenue.
Right.
Because now it's sustainable over time, and we want to be able to create jobs. If we create jobs, now we can have relationships like you have with Chris, and that you have with Jesse, and you have with other people, and help to develop those relationships so that we can have an environment of innovation and
Right.
creativity, an environment where we work together. Like in the military, we didn't know color in the military. We were soldiers, right? And we were on a mission, and we accomplished our mission, and we focused on the very things that made us United States soldiers, and helped us to be productive across the board. And so, as we talk about, let's talk about the day we met on the range, and you started talking about, what if we can put together a charitable golf tournament to get, a white guy and a black guy in a golf cart. And now we've expanded to black guy, black girl. It doesn't matter the gender, but we want to be able to get them in a golf cart, and we want them to be able to build these productive relationships through open-heartedness. So talk about that vision that you have.
Well, when I shared it with Charles, again, I'm very blessed to have been not only in group sports, but also in the military, where black and white are brothers. We just don't treat each other differently. Those who've played sports understand that. Those who've been in the military understand it. But unfortunately, most of the population doesn't seem to get it anymore, that we are so much alike. Anyway, after the George Floyd killing, I saw there was so much distrust and hatred was beginning to grow. And I said, I don't know what I can do, but I do know that, you have to, if I felt I had to do something. And my answer was, if we can socialize together and get to know each other outside of work or outside of waving at them from a distance at your neighborhood, we're going to get along much better. So my philosophy was, I had at least 8 or 10 black friends who play golf, and I've got many more white friends who play golf. So I said, if I can get 20, 30, 40 people of color, 20, 30, 40 white people together, men, women, young, old, and we get those 60 to 80 people, we put all their names in a hat. One hat's a white hat, one hat's a black hat. We draw 2 names out. Those 2 people get to meet each other and get together for 4 hours, where they play some golf, have fun, and learn a little about someone they don't know. And I think that's what fosters good relationships. Now, we have tested this model. Ron Jacobs is an African-American man who is a divisional manager for Jack in the Box here in Charlotte. I'd never met Ron before, but through Golf for Change, just getting together with him, he's met my son. We've been to lunch. We contact each other all the time. I mean, I consider him a friend now. And I never would have met him except for this relationship. And I think other people will see the same thing. You're not going to like everybody. Some people, anything else, you're not going to get along. But as long as we focus on our commonality and don't simply pound our differences, we don't do it with our families. There's always things we disagree with our loved ones, with people at work, but we know enough not to simply only talk about those things. And no one's going to trust your opinion if you're going to talk in a mad fashion anyway. You have to be able to understand someone's heart in order to have a comfortable conversation. So anyway, we're about fostering good times, getting people to have upward mobility by being able to socialize with their business associates outside of business. Therefore, they're going to have an opportunity to move up in the chain of command.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we're talking about using golf for change as a vehicle to create social capital. And as we look at this, what we're saying that let's just start. We're going to dream big. In fact, our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal is to be in partnership with the PGA Tour. Now, the PGA Tour announced that as a result of the social unrest, they wanted to contribute. And so they're going to raise in 10 years $100 million. Now, they are the most philanthropic organization there is. So we know they're going to do it. There's no question of whether or not they're going to do it. However, we wanted to also prepare for 2022 here in Charlotte. We've got the President's Cup coming. So we thought, well, what would it look like if we had this collaborative community coming together to show up at the President's Club? We're rooting for the United States of America, of course, because it's right here, in our backyard. We've got Harold Varner, we got Webb Simpson, and of course, Tiger Woods is going to be there. And oh, by the way, Michael Jordan is probably going to be there as
absolutely.
The coaches,
Curry,
Curry, So we're going to have a lot of people there, but we wanted them to see not only are we focusing on how we're going to help to grow the game of golf and get young people involved, but we're also getting people involved to understand the value of building these productive relationships, these positive relationships. I love what you talk about, Garrett, about even though we may disagree on stuff, we don't focus on the disagreement. Talk more about that. You said that about our families. Talk more about that, if you will.
Well, unfortunately, the media, both on the left and the right, they tend to polarize all of us in various ways. So they may only talk about what's happening, the bad things that happen. And there's killings in black neighborhoods by the police, other things. Anyway, we tend to focus on these things, and it gets, when we're only looking at those specific things, we begin to have ideas about people. And instead of focusing on the entire lives of huge bodies of people, we focus on these narrow bits of information. And those narrow bits of information are often not entirely correct. And they tend to polarize us and push us apart. My feeling is if it's your girlfriend or your children or your people at church, there's things you disagree on, but you don't talk about them only because you'd never get along with anything. So Charles and I understand that until we can't talk about the really important issues until we know each other's hearts are in the right place.
Right.
We have to earn that trust. It's not something you just, I tend to, I'm like Charles. I don't have any people I don't know. I tend to have, I'm a little bit gullible, a little bit sometimes, but I'd rather be that way with people. I consider them my friends until they prove otherwise, kind of thing.
Right.
So that's a good thing. But again, we need to show people that there's a lot of underserved people. Now, my son, I'm going to share something. My son had something interesting to say. He said that, and he was talking to his congregation, and he said, that I got to figure out how to word this exactly how he said it. He said that if you go to the doctor and you have unspecific pain, but sometimes it's harsh and sometimes it's in the background, but it's always there. And you explain the entire situation to the doctor, and the doctor finally at the end looks at you and says, you know what? I never felt that. I don't believe you have it. Well, that isn't what a doctor does at all. So when I hear that a black man or woman tells me that they have pain from the way they've been treated in this country in certain circumstances, I can't say just because I haven't felt it, it doesn't exist. That'd be crazy. I have to do what a doctor would do as best I can. And that's two things. Number one, I have to try to ensure that we make sure they feel better now. We want to lower all that pain. And secondly, we want to make sure that pain doesn't return. So that's part of always been my philosophy. You've got to understand, and you got to be able to go the extra mile. And as a white man, I'm going 60, 70%, and the blacks didn't come to me, but I feel like I owe a little more. I know that blacks have been mistreated. I understand it as best I can from a white man's position. So I am more than willing to go out of my way, go 50, 60, 70%, and let somebody come 30% to me. But we're not going to be able to get there unless we have these open relationships like Charles and I do.
Right. And having critical conversations is important, but you can't start off with critical conversation. You've got to find places where we can agree. And here's what we can agree on is what the world needs now is love,
Yeah,
right? And if we will err on the side of love, now we can get to a point where we can broach critical topics without being disagreeable. We can agree to disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable.
that's right.
We can find solutions because we're not going to find solutions butting heads, right? We're not going to come up with a common good solution for everyone butting heads. But if we will talk it out and share our differences and then say, hey, what can we do? Like, you're obviously helping with your business, right? And helping to create jobs. You're obviously helping with the Purple Heart Homes. You're obviously helping inspire guys like me when you hit the golf ball, because I know the value of golf and I've used it as a tool, like I said, to be the passport for the world, not only for me, but my son, who is a senior SEO analyst. And we've used golf as a tool to help develop him as a leader. And we use it with others. Now he's 30 years old, so I've been doing it since he was 11 to help to develop future leaders that can communicate in different various diverse environments. And so even as we develop this golf for a change concept, I'd love to be able to tie it into, champions for a change. You got the champions for a change, the Charles Barkley, if he's listening, if anybody knows, Charles, come and work with us. Steph Curry, come and work with us because we're on the ground level, right? And on the ground level, we have put together a consortium, a partnership, a team, and it's ad hoc. It's nothing official yet, but we've got Stephen Lewis with the Boost Pad, and Steve is working on helping to develop undeserved entrepreneurs and giving them a place to be able to launch businesses. And of course, here at the Nehemiah, we do training, coaching, and we give access to capital to entrepreneurs. We focus on the faith-based community. And as we focus on the faith-based community, we aim to be a part of the larger entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that's why I know that Golf for Change will be a key component. Garrett, I'm going to invite you to some of our workshops that we're going to host at Top Golf. And then when the green grass facilities are more accessible and open, we're going to get out there and we are going to have that golf tournament. We don't know when.
That's right.
We know we're definitely going to have it. So if any of our listeners are interested, you're a golfer, you love business, you love the Lord, you love just having good conversation, you love working with veterans, we've got an opportunity for you. And we've got a landing page that you can go to. Just put your information in there. We'll get back with you. We're still in the discovery phase of what we're doing, but we wanted to get it out there because we are looking for people that have hearts for doing good and making a difference in the community and having some fun, and they want to make some money. We're not opposed to any of those things, having fun, making money, and making a difference. And as we continue to interview people on the podcast, as I get opportunity on Patrice's platform, we are launching the Urban Impact platform as well. It's a new platform where we're bringing people together that will focus on the disparities within the urban communities and find solutions. I believe every problem has a solution. And so as we come together and we put our hearts and minds together, we're going to make this world a better place. So Garrett, let me ask you, I'm going to ask you this question and then whatever you want to chime in before we've got a little bit more time. But what are you most hopeful for in the world? What brings you hope? You've been around for a while. I kid with you, but you're old enough to be my father.
A lot of people's grandfather.
Well, I'll give you father because I'll be 60 in February.
Yeah, that's right. I could do. I'm kind of a half glass full guy. I think I always have been. I tend to look at. I think with all the issues we have right now, people still want kind of the same things in their lives around the world. They want to have an opportunity to live in a clean environment. They want it to be safe for their children. They want their children to be educated. They want to be able to get a better job and move up in their lives. This is ubiquitous. It's everywhere in the world. People want to have a better opportunity, not just for themselves, but for their children and for their countries. And often they just don't know where to start. They've been so downtrodden for so long, there seems to be no light at the end of any tunnel. But that being said, there's a lot of people out there that support organizations like Charles's, where we believe if younger people, especially that have not had an opportunity to learn some life skills, they haven't been taught them, they haven't been placed in the right environments. Once they learn those skills, the world opens up to them. See, I don't believe, I think institutionalized racism has gone pretty much away. Individual racism, some organizations, it's going to be around for a long time. But the people I know and the people I associate with and the organizations I know, they are looking for ways to help people. And it has nothing to do with skin color. In fact, they want people to come out of an environment that's been very poor and where they see, man, I can make it. You know, the system is not so stacked against me and people like me that I can't move up as long as I learn some life skills. And some of that, in my mind, is number one, any of those who work at companies that have a diversity program, you might want to approach the boss with our Golf for Change and say, how about if we put a little program together where we invite people of color and white people to come out and with 4 to 6 people at a Topgolf, and we'll socialize together. And that socialization helps upward mobility. So I encourage you to do that. I made another note here that if I can find the darn thing. Oh, here it is.
So your recommendation, as you look for that, your recommendation is that if you're a corporate executive,
yes,
that you get in touch with us at the Nehemiah Project. You see our information scrolling across, and or Garrett's. You see his information as well. And you get in touch with us and help us to facilitate a conversation around your diversity. Now, we're going to do it differently. We're going to take them to Topgolf and get them together and help them to get to know your employees, your leaders, to get to know each other off campus,
right,
off of their, work time. We're not asking you to cut into your work time. But we are asking you to make an investment, help sponsor them so that we can defray the cost. And have some fun. And then as they have fun, we're saying we're going to use our leadership training and skills to veterans, college educated, obviously have worlds of experience to return back to you a better, more adjusted employees. Because
inclusionary employees.
Yeah. I love the idea. I love what we're doing. But go ahead. What was the other point you wanted to make here?
I think here's my understanding. And again, I don't have all the answers. I'm always a little open-minded. But I think a lot of youth that don't have a lot of parental supervision, be they black or white, often they don't develop what's called the sense of propriety. And a sense of propriety is simply understanding what is socially acceptable in certain circumstances. For instance, you don't behave the same way at a bar as you do at church. At least I hope you don't.
Right.
Often kids aren't taught this sense of propriety, and it holds them back. Often they aren't taught to modulate their anger management. I mean, when we're little kids, all of us, we throw tantrums. We don't get a toy. We don't get a treat. We lay on the floor and we kick our feet and stomp and cry. And if we're not told to modulate that and taught to do it, it often hurts us throughout our lives. And I think Charles's organization is saying, hey, listen, if we get children early enough, we can teach them these skills. And all they need is the skills. It's not an intelligence factor. It's not that you're black. It's not that you're from the inner city. It's a matter of, we can teach you certain skills, you will get ahead. Mm-hmm. Period. That's my feeling. It's all about skills and getting to people young enough.
Well, and another way to say that is just simple social graces, right? You have the ability, when you meet somebody, you're going to walk up to them and you're going to look them eye to eye and give them can't give them a handshake right now. You got to give them an elbow bump, fist bump. COVID has changed the game. But that's part of the social graces, right? And understanding how to be flexible and adopt to your environment. And when you adopt to your environment, it's not, diversity is not about not, liking one or another. It's about celebrating the differences that we bring to the table.
That's right.
And I like to tell people, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and then people say, well, New York is a melting pot. Well, really, it's not a melting pot. It's more of a tossed salad. And the reason why I say a tossed salad, because I like for the potatoes or the cucumbers or the lettuce, tomatoes, whatever you're going to put in, the onions to be what they are, and I get to enjoy the individuality of those things when I digest them. And so what we really want is diversity of thought, because it's diversity of thought that helps us to create an environment of innovation. Einstein says we cannot solve our current problems with the thinking that we had when we created the problems, right? If you had thinking to create the problem, you have to have a different level of thinking to solve the problem. Of course, I paraphrase that, and it's not the exact quote, but you can look it up on Google. Just Google it. Google it makes everybody smart, right? And so as we think in terms of, we're coming together around the game of golf because we love the game of golf. And we're saying, hey, let's have these critical conversations. Eventually, let's not start out with them, but let's have friendly conversations.
Let's
have some fun. You can't tell your jokes on this platform, Garrett.
No, I can't. I shouldn't tell them at all, but I do.
You got some very interesting jokes, and if anybody knows anything about our armed forces and our military guys, they are very creative because they have to be, because of the environment that they're in, right? So you've got to have a sense of humor to be able to suffer the things that they suffer and go through the things that they go through. And so I want to appreciate you publicly for your service to the country.
Thank you.
All the things that you've done, all the things that you're doing with Purple Heart Homes. And we just want to be able to connect and figure out how we can add value and create the partnerships, the allegiances that will be productive and yet still have fun, make money, and make a difference.
And there is a big value of doing things without thought for what am I going to get in return? Because the things you get in return by doing some of the things you and I do, Charles, are entirely internal. We're not asking for pats on the back. We're not asking for letters of. We're just doing it because we see the value of changing people's lives for the positive, even if they're not thankful. I don't even care, but you can see that we've moved someone from this point to this point simply by being there at the right time for them. And secondly, the last thing I'd like to close with is those of you who don't play golf, I suggest you just go out and look at it. It's a tough sport. It's not easy to do, but it really helps. It's a great sport to be able to socialize with because you only hit balls less than a minute of your, probably 3 minutes out of your 4 hours on the golf course. The rest of the time you get to talk and share some ideas with people you don't know. It's one of the only sports where you can spend that much time sharing ideas and talking and having fun. There's not many other ones you can do that with because you're running and doing other things. So if you don't play golf, think of it as a way to, increase your ability to do something else, but also it's a good socially mobile, upward mobility vehicle for you. If you can play golf, you'll often run into people who may be potential employers, obviously they'd be potential friends, and I encourage you to give it a go.
And you can play it well into your life. I mean, you said that you're 74 years old.
Yeah.
I can attest that he said he hits the ball like he's a young man. And it's not only, it's a thinking man's or thinking woman's game, a thinking person's game. And you get to think your way around, and it's very strategic. So it'll help you with, as a business person, it helps you with your business strategy, but it really helps you with your social capital. Because we're a training platform, and we help to train, we help to coach, but it's not just what you know; it's also who you know. So to be able to get around the right who's is very important. In fact, the who's you know oftentimes will make or break you.
Absolutely,
and a lot of
I can say that as absolutely true.
Yeah. So we've got to get people to understand of how to be strategic in their approach to life, particularly coming out of COVID-19. You need to have a game plan. You need to have a strategy. And so if you're in need of a coach, we have coaches here at Nehemiah. We encourage you to log on to our platform, the NehemiahEcommunity.com. entrepreneurship.com and find out exactly what we're doing. If there are any pastors or leaders out there that are listening to us, I'd love to talk to you because that's my area of expertise, a former pastor, be able to show you how to leverage platforms, build relationships, and come up with a plan, a game plan for life so that you don't have to worry about coming out of this environment. We don't have to be angry with everybody and upset with this group or that group, or it's not that kind of party, guys. This is the United States of America. And men like Garrett have laid their lives on the line. And many of his friends have died for the freedoms that we so take for granted. And we should not. We should appreciate the great nation that we do live in, and we should be aiming to make it better. Are there faults? Yes, they are. But sitting around complaining never changed anything. So let's put our hearts and minds together, our hearts, and let's get out there, have some fun. You know, my name is Charles. I'm your friend. My mission in life is to empower you to win. And my friend Garrett, I thank you, man, for joining me on this episode of the Nehemiah podcast. And man, I can't wait to get out there. You know, we're going to have to it's starting to get cold. So Top Golf is looking real good because they got heat. Yeah,
but they turn the heater on and man, you're all warm and cozy. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone. And, you know, I have high hopes for all of us. You know, as long as we can share, you know, some time together in a positive way, the world's going to move forward. The world's going to be, if you're Christians, Muslims, whatever you are, you've got to be able to get out of that, whatever sphere you're in, and just try to welcome in other people within your circle.
Right. Well, thank you. And I want to thank publicly my tech guy, Victor. Victor is in Rome, Italy, and he's pulling the switches behind the scene. And so, Victor, thank you, man. This will bring our broadcast to a close. And thank you guys for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.